Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. So you want to be a professional wood burner, or at least try your hand at it. Well, today I'm going to teach y'all how to get better at wood burning if you're a beginner or an advanced student. So first thing we're going to talk about is what type of wood to actually burn. I've had a lot of questions about this, and there really is no bad wood to burn. It's just how much clarity that you're going to get out of it and how easy it's going to be. So that being said, you want to stick with a light wood as possible. So good choices for that are like ash. Ash is a very good wood to burn. It's got a very tight grain. Other ones would be maple. Maple's a good wood to burn. It's also very clear, as you can see, very white. Another good one, this one's a decent one. It's not the best. This is white oak. Another decent one, this one's cypress. Cypress is a soft wood, but it does burn pretty well. It does have a little bit more brown texture to it, but it does burn fairly well. Ones you want to stay away from are darker woods. A good one to stay away from is purple heart. Even though it burns really well, you can't see the picture that you're burning through it. So you want to stay away from that one. As well as woods like walnut. Walnut burns extremely well, but you can't see it through the background of the brown because the wood burning is brown too, or black. Another wood you want to stay away from is sappy woods like pine. Now, I've burnt a lot of pine in my time, and it's good woods to practice on, but pine is very difficult to burn, not only for the sap that's in it, but it has hard and soft spots in it all through the wood, and it makes it extremely difficult. So the wood we're going to be using today is one of my favorite woods to burn is poplar. Poplar is a mildly soft wood, and it is very, very clear, as you can see. A lot of poplar doesn't have any knots in it. It's very, very controllable. So another thing that you want to think about is what kind of picture that you're going to burn. If you're a beginner, you may want to stick with something that's pretty simple, like lettering. Now, I know this is real boring, but this here's why I cut my teeth on. This here's, I did a lot of lettering when I first started. One, because it's a lot of straight lines, and there are some curved lines in there to give you some challenge, but it's something that can be done in less than an hour, and you can have a good time doing it. You can try out new shading methods and all sorts of good stuff. Ones you want to kind of stay away from as a beginner are live pictures. Now, I was a fool when I first started and tried to do really, really hard ones from the very beginning. And I struggled, I really did. It took me hours and hours and hours, and it wasn't very fun. This picture right here, I think I did about 5 years ago, and it turned out okay. I'll show a picture of it in just a second. But the problem with live pictures is there's no dominant line that you follow. Your basic layout is going to be there, but all the internal features are going to be done by your eye, and it just depends on how much of a artist's eye that you actually have. One of my favorite things to do is to do animation pictures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I don't want to do any cartoons, or I don't want to do that girly crap. But one, I love animation, and two, animation is very, very fun to do because the lines are so direct. And if you have direct lines, it's easier to follow. But we're going to get after it and get started. Okay, now we're going to get started. Now, if you're a very talented artist, you can just freehand this to this block of wood. But what I've found, it's a lot easier to draw the picture out on paper and transfer it this way, because wood does not really draw on very well. Even if you have a super fine finish on it, it still doesn't hold up. It doesn't go on like you want it to. Now, all I've done here, if you can tell, I've just taped one piece of tape to one corner so you can lift the picture up and look at it, and when you drop it, it'll go back right to where it was. So all we're going to do now is take a piece of carbon paper, and you're going to take the shiny side up, this is up, and slip it straight up under the picture. Alright, got it set up. Now you just hold your picture as flat as you can and go ahead and start tracing in all your major lines. And try not to sketch your lines so much as just make a hard, heavy line. And this is going to take a little while. And you just have to go through here and just put in all your major lines. Follow them best you can. Okay, excuse me. Just got done with all my major sketching, and it took about 15 minutes total. But as you can tell, we've got a pretty good baseline to get started. Now, if you notice in the picture here, her head's cut off at the top, so we'll go ahead and put that in freehand. So we're ready to take all that off. So come in. You can play with your lines a little bit if they don't look right, just right on proportion. There we go. I think our head's a little bit flat. Let's come up just a little bit. In most anime, they have very, very rounded pictures, so there we go, that looks better. There we go. There, very nice. Alright, we'll get the wood burner out and start. Alright, about to get started now. Now, a good idea is to print you out another picture, one that has not been drawn on, so that you can get real clear lines in case one of them gets messed up on your block, and just set it up somewhere in front of you so you can kind of glance at it and take a look at it. And it'll also help you with your shading as you get started. Now, normally on all my pictures I go ahead and do my major outline first, all the way around, and then come down, and then you can start working on your internal deals. So I'm gonna get started down here on the bottom, and we're just gonna go with it. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes later and I've got done with all my major lines. Now we're going to focus on the eyes. Now the eyes of any piece is one of the most trickiest and difficult things to do, and I'm going to show you how to kind of do it with a wood burner. So we're going to do on the less detailed parts first, which would be the eyebrows. Just going to super easy on those. Just go and just make you a line just like you did on your outline. She's got a little bit of a bad streak right there. Alright, now the eyebrows are crucial because if you don't do them right, you can't tell what emotion that they're feeling. There we go, there's one. Let me do the other side. Now what's interesting about Erza's eyes are, in a lot of anime, all the girls' eyes are round. And what's interesting about Erza's are they're square, which I think that gives her more of a intimidating look. So we'll go ahead and start on her upper part of her eye here. Because usually guys' eyes are more square, and they're usually more narrow too, and that's kind of interesting about her eyes because they're really big. Go. Alright, hers fan out. Back into her hair. Worry about the rest of that later. Come over to her right eye. She's got a little bit of indentation, showing that her eye socket's over here. Do the bottom line. And these are very simple lines to do, but if you don't have confidence in them, they won't turn out right. Alright, we're getting pretty close to our basic shape. Now we're going to do her pupils now. And hers, unlike a lot of anime, are more of an oval shape than anything, and oval's kind of hard to do with a wood burner. To get a clean line, I should say. There we go. Go over to her left eye. Sometimes you just have to wrap that tool around the best way you can. It's going to get a little jagged right there because I can't use the straight end of the tool. There we go. Now we're going to do her reflections in her eyes next. Okay. Got a little bit bigger one over here in our left eye. There we go. It's pretty close. Kind of mess that up right there. That don't look quite like I want it to. Alright. Then we must not forget our nose, which I love. Japanese anime nose. It's just a little bend line, more or less. And that is it. And there you go. There's your basic outline shape. Now we're going to look into shading and what to do on that. Okay, on this next part right here, I'm going to focus mostly on the eyes because that's the most critical thing to get right. So in the picture, she has got a little bit of a reflection off her irises here. It's kind of a very steep half moon shape. She's got one in both of them, but this one on her right eye, or her left eye, would be more subtle. So just keep that in mind, kind of where they both are, and we'll start our shading process. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can just put a blunt shade, or you can do staggered, or however you want to do it. And I'm just going to go with a really heavy shade, except for where that that little bit of reflection is. So we'll just go in, and a good rule is don't go too heavy, because you can always go back and make it a little darker. But if you go too dark to begin with, you can't undo it, more or less. So, and her pupils right here, or not her pupils, but her whole eye is very, very dark. So just go in until it's almost black. Alright, going for the heavy shade now. Okay, now I'm just going to drag through that little shaded reflection spot, and you'll see it show up just a tiny bit. Alright, we're going to go over to her other eye here. Go heavy on the shade. Till you get to that little half moon shape there, and just back off on it. A little bit up here at the top. Alright, we're going to drag through it. There you go. Just a little, I mean, it's very, very subtle, but it is there. I'll go down here and do her bottom lip. It's got a little bit of shade spot in it. That's really her chin, actually. Well, kind of, sort of. That's her bottom lip, more or less. Because that's her chin. Alright, now we'll do the eyebrows, which are very, very sleek. And this one you can kind of play with your shading a little bit. I'm going to try to put some zigzag to initially make a hairline, more or less, so they actually look more realistic. And that's one really cool thing about wood burning, is that you're more or less making a 3D image, because when you burn that material, you've actually lost some material there, so you can actually see it. It's a recessed place. We'll go in and shade this in, and then inside of her eye here, she's got a fatter line right here to make her eyes pop a little bit more. It's tapered right here so it gets skinnier as it gets down further. We'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Don't get too carried away. You don't want to make it just super dramatic. She's got a little bit of shading on her nose here. And this line needs to be a little bit bigger. Here we go. And there you go. And that's all the major shading for the eyes. You can play with it a little bit more and get it how you want it. Remember, this is all preference. And then we'll go ahead and do some of the highlights in her hair up here. Now, hair is very tricky to do. It depends on what style that you're looking into, but you can shade in the light colored places, or you can shade her whole head in. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna try not to do that because that's gonna take a lot of work. So I think I'll shade in the lighter areas on the outside towards the inside. That's a style I like a lot. There you go. You can do something just like that. And the hair just depends on what you want to do. I know if you're following the picture, you can do the ones that have hair cuts in them that actually follow the rest of her hairline. You can shade them in darker than the highlights, and that'll look a little bit more realistic. Now this section right here that I'm working on, this is the back half of her head, or the back half of her hair, really, is what I should say. And you want it to be darker than the rest of it, just because there's no light there. And you want her face to pop out too, so pretty much just shade that color in all the way through. But I'm gonna keep going with this, and we'll see. And there she is, all shaded in. As you can tell, I did a little bit darker on one side than I did the other to give the illusion of light hitting her from one side. And that's pretty much it. And as you can tell here, it's a nice 1-to-1 ratio. And I know what you're probably thinking, oh, he just traced a bunch of lines in order to do this. Well, yes and no. I did use my own creative, artistic ability to do all the shading and to figure out the lines that I did miss and put them in correctly. And even though you are just tracing, it does take an artistic eye to do this. And I'll show you all a picture of the final project. Once again, guys, glad, like, subscribe to me if you like, and I will see y'all next time.